Um, yeah, so you guys just wanted me to come on to speak about what exactly? To speak about nationality and that kind of thing, or what did you want to talk about today?
Well, Brenda, right now it is tax season, and a lot of men and women are dealing with taxes and finding out a whole lot about taxes. If you have anything along those areas with taxes or whatever you feel more comfortable and what's more prevalent on this journey that we're all seeking, on this freedom journey.
Yeah, how many people are on here right now? And 43 people. And what percentage of people are already familiar with what we're doing here? Just should I start at the very bottom or should I go, you know?
Well, we're pretty much, I'm going to say in the middle. We're pretty much mediocre. The majority of the people here, I can say an average of 5 years, some more, some less. Yeah, but the people who I've been scanning the room who are here are pretty much advanced beyond the basics.
Okay. But so we have a lot of advanced people, but the people that are still filing taxes, is that correct? Or is that
Well, yeah, some people are doing it, that they're doing their final 1040s. Yes. So, okay, that's why I said in the middle, mediocre, midway.
I'll just start at the ground floor. That way I don't leave anybody behind in the dust. And it will just take me an extra maybe 10, 15 minutes to start there. Um,
Amazing.
so I'll go ahead and just give you guys a full breakdown of how all this goes down and how all this works and how you can live your life without having to deal with any of this tax stuff. Unless you live in Washington, D.C., then you would still need to do it. But if you live in Washington, D.C., it's pretty small. And even if you work there, you can just move to Virginia or something like that and then just drive in every day. And then at that point, you'd be able to do all this. If you live in Puerto Rico or the Virgin Islands or something like that, you probably wouldn't be able to do this. But as long as you're one of the 50 states, then it really shouldn't be a problem. I will do a screen share. Let me see here. Are you guys able to see my screen?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, clearly.
Oh, okay, good. So we'll start with a lot of people talk about status correction, status correction, status correction, status correction, but nobody can really tell me what that means, and it doesn't really mean what anybody thinks it means. There is no such thing as status correction necessarily. There is a fluidity of status, and that status is stretched across many, many, many different persons, quote unquote, right? So what we'll do is I'll show you what status correction actually means. Status means, you know, your standing or your situation in relation to something else or other things, and then correction means that it's in an incorrect position and you're going to be putting it into the correct position, which technically that would fit for this, but it's a lot more than that because status correction has this kind of one shot deal kind of inference to it that everyone talks about, and that's not at all what status correction is, in my opinion. So I'll show you what I think it is and how I think it works. Okay, so status correction falls into two different sectors. Okay, sector one is identity, and sector two is location. Okay. So, first and foremost, for those of you who are new to this information, one of the most important things in the world is the definition of the word person, which anyone who's been around for a while knows this already. But the term person shall be construed to mean and include an individual, a trust, estate, partnership, association, company, or corporation. And if we go to 8 USC 1101, which is Title 8, which is all about nationality, and we go down to the definition of the word person, we can just scroll down to this, pull up the word person here, an individual or an organization. Okay. So and there's other places you'll find definitions, but all the definitions include um, legal persons and they include corporations, right? Now, there's this term straw man that people have heard of for all these years, but no one ever can give me the definition of what it means, which is a big failure. And if you use this term in a court of law or legally at all and you don't define it, you look like an idiot. So, anyone who has used this or decided they wanted to use this word without getting into the definition of it, this is why all your stuff gets thrown out. This is why you aren't taken seriously because there is an actual definition. The definition of the term strawman is a third party that holds property in intermission for the sole purpose of transferring it to another. Now, is that the all caps name or is it not? I don't think it is. I think it's one function possibly of the all caps name, but it doesn't encompass the entire purpose and structure of the all caps name entirely. Okay. And for those who aren't even familiar with that, the all caps name is a corporation that was created when you were born, when your birth certificate was processed. Now, the terms that I like to describe this particular entity, this particular corporation that was opened by the government when my birth certificate was filed, there are two terms that I have found that I think are much better. Term number one is the term public corporation, and you can find this definition in Black's Law Fourth Edition or other editions. You're not going to find it under the term public corporation. You're actually going to find this definition under just corporation in the dictionary. There's a section in the corporation, which is like 6 entire pages of definitions. There's a section that says public corporation inside that definition, and a public corporation is one created by the state for political purposes and to act as an agency in the administration of civil government. Now, is the functions of a straw man part of what that function as a public corporation could be? I suppose, yes. But a straw man would not actually describe what this thing is very well. Public corporation would. Okay. Another term that I use very often that I like very much. I use this term almost exclusively in all of my litigation that I'm doing. I have 4 federal cases that I'm currently running, and I have many, many, many more in the works. That term is ens legis. That's the pronunciation of this Latin term. This term is a creature of the law, an artificial being, as contrasted with a natural person, applied to corporations considered as deriving their existence entirely from the law. So you have a public corporation, ens legis, either term, which may or may not be operating sometimes as a straw man. And then the term attorn, for those of you that are not familiar with that term, I believe it's here. The term attorn, which is the shortening, the shorter version of attorney, right? From the American Heritage Dictionary of the English Language, 5th edition, we have to recognize or bring about a transfer, especially of property. We have to transfer something to another, and then we have to turn or transfer homage and service from one lord to another. This is the act of feudatories, vassals, or tenants upon the alienation of the estate, right? So these you can see here, what does an attorney do? He recognizes or brings about a transfer of property. What is a straw man? Is a third party that holds property in intermission for the sole purpose of transferring it to another. Okay. But again, that is not the full functionality of the all caps name. The full functionality of the all caps name would be better described as, like I was saying earlier, the public corporation or the ens legis. Now, there's 2 persons here. There's you as what is considered the natural person. Now, there are definitions of natural person that you will find out there that do include artificial persons. So this term is still a bit of a pitfall. But if you want to operate within any court, if you want to operate within the legal system at all, you pretty much have to call yourself a natural person. You can put a little caveat on it or put a little additional definition. Just to clarify that if there are already definitions out there that may include an artificial person, the definition of natural person within the confines of whatever it is that you're writing would not include that as part of the description. and only and exclusively is referring to a living, a living person, a living man, a living woman, etc. for natural person, right? That's how I do it. If you try to go much beyond that, you can't really operate in the courts. You can use the term man and the term woman. You can even define natural person as a man or a woman, and then from that point forward, within those documents that you do that in, you use the word natural person, and you don't have to worry about being mixed up with the chaos associated with other definitions that could include other ens legises or public corporations. Okay. Now, on top of that, you have every single corporation. Um, where's the definition of person? Here it is. This is one I showed you earlier, just on my website. So then on top of that, you live your life, right? So you start off with two persons. You have yourself as a natural person, man or woman, and then you have the ens legis public corporation of your name in all capital letters. Now it goes beyond that because every single trust, estate, partnership, association, company, or corporation or child that you ever have are all different persons. Each child that you have is two persons immediately. If they have a birth certificate and social security number, they are two persons. So if you have two living children, you actually have four children. Two of them are men or women, and two of them are ens legises or public corporations. Okay. Now let's say you have a company. You have a little company with your friends, and you guys sell dry cleaning. That's another person. Now that would only be one person because there's no living man or woman associated with that. So let's say you had one trust, one company, one corporation, and then yourself, your wife, and two children. You got to say there's two persons for husband, two persons for wife, two persons for daughter, two persons for son, one person for trust, one person for corporation. So that'd be a grand total of 10 persons. Okay. So status correction, section number 1 is identity. Identity has to do with what persons are involved in the transaction. Okay. Now you can open up as many trusts, as many estates, as many partnerships, as many associations, as many companies, and as many corporations as you want. You can have as many kids as you want too. So the thing is that you are creating persons, which are like your children, essentially, sort of, in the law all the time. And you can have as many persons as you would like. If you would like to have 37,486 persons, there's absolutely nothing stopping you from doing that. If you'd like to have less, there's nothing stopping you from doing that either, right? So the term status correction is, in my opinion, entirely false because the thing is that there is no single status for one single person because there are many, many, many persons at play here. These are all different playing pieces that are playing on this giant board called commerce. Okay. So you can have as many playing pieces as you want. If right now, a lot of you may have only two playing pieces. If you'd like to have 12 or 30 or 77 or 377, that's entirely your choice. You can have as many playing pieces as you want. That's identity. Who is what? Who is this? Who is that? Who are you talking about? That's an important part. Now, section number 2 of status correction is location. So now we know we have all these playing pieces, and now we know we may want more playing pieces. We may want less playing pieces, depending on what people are trying to do, right? Like for me, for example, I have probably, 6 or 7 different playing pieces that I operate with at all times, right? So now the second part of status correction is location. Location. So far, if we were to translate this into a Monopoly game, let's say, for example, we take me, for example, I think I have about 6 or 7 playing pieces, but let's say I only had like 3 or 4. So let's say I had the car, the iron, I had the I think it's a shoe, and I had the little dog. Okay. So you have the 4 different playing pieces that I'm going to be playing with. And now we have all these different places all over the board. We have the green places, we have boardwalk, we have the railroads, we have these different locations, right? So the second part of this conversation is now that we know we have all these playing pieces, now we're going to figure out how do we locate or how does location work in terms of those playing pieces. So first section we're going to go over is United States. United States means a federal corporation, and that comes from 28 USC 3002. Most people on this call are probably going to be familiar with that. Then we're going to go to UCC 9-307, and we're going to find out where is that corporation located. Subsection H, location of United States. The United States is located in the District of Columbia. Okay. Now we're going to find out what is a United States citizen. Now keep in mind, a United States citizen can be a trust, estate, partnership, association, company, or corporation, as well as an individual, because the United States, a U.S. citizen would be a person, right? And you can see that here. It even says here, this is 42 USC 9102 subsection 18. It even literally says United States citizen means any corporation, partnership, association, or other entity organized or existing under the laws of the United States or of any state. So you can see here that a U.S. citizen can include other types of persons that are not a man or a woman, otherwise known as loosely natural persons. Okay. But we're not going to get into that too much. What we're interested in is just this first section here. United States citizen means any individual who is a citizen of the United States by law, birth, or naturalization. Okay. Law means by contract or under the laws of, like when you create a corporation, you create it under the laws of the United States. Birth, that would mean born in the District of Columbia. Okay, which is easy. Even if you were, it doesn't really matter because you can change all that depending on where you're at now. If you're currently located in Washington D.C., that might be a bit of an issue. But as long as you are not currently located in Washington D.C. and you may have been born there, it's not a big deal. Then we have the most important part, which is naturalization. This is actually the secret to everything, in my opinion. This is the secret to the entire second section of status correction involving location, right? So what is naturalization? Pull this up here. Actually, I already have this up right here. So this comes from 8 USC 1101 subsection A 23. We have here the term naturalization means the conferring of nationality of a state upon a person, individual, or an organization after birth by any means whatsoever. So now you have the dog, you have the iron, you have the car, and you have the hat. You have 4 playing pieces, which would be yourself, your ens legis, you have 1 trust and 1 corporation on the board. Okay. Now, at that point, you don't roll dice in order to locate these particular persons. You simply confer nationality of a state, for example, Boardwalk. I confer the nationality of the state called Boardwalk upon the playing piece car after birth by any means whatsoever. Once you do that, the car is instantly transported to the location of Boardwalk, which is the blue, one of the final really expensive properties at the very end of the board, right before the go, where you collect $200. You don't roll dice. You don't ask for permission. You don't do any of that. You simply confer the location of where you would like that particular playing piece to be located. And then after that point, that playing piece is located at that point until you confer the nationality of a different location upon that piece later after birth by any means whatsoever. Okay. So what's happening is that everyone out here, everyone in the world is conferring the nationality of a state called United States, which is a federal corporation that is located in the District of Columbia upon, who knows? Most people don't even know what they're conferring it upon. Are they conferring it upon the natural person, or are you conferring it upon the ens legis? Are you conferring it upon a corporation, a trust, a state, partnership, association? No one has a clue. So these are the 2 sections, quote unquote, of uh, status correction. Okay, so let's say, for example, you wanted to move the ens legis or yourself as a natural person or your trust or your corporation or your associations outside of the United States, which is a federal corporation located in the District of Columbia. You would simply confer the nationality of a different state upon that person after birth by any means whatsoever. Now, at that point, in relation to the United States, that person, whether it be an ens legis or a trust or an estate or a partnership or an association, would become what's called a national of the United States. Now, what is a national of the United States? National of the United States means a citizen of the United States, or a person means individual organization who, though not a citizen of the United States, owes permanent allegiance to the United States. So you do not have to live in the United States to be a national of the United States. You simply have to pledge allegiance to the United States and you become a national of the United States. Now, this word permanent slips a lot of people up. The term permanent means a relationship of continuing or lasting nature, as distinguished from temporary, but a relationship may be permanent even though it is one that may be dissolved eventually at the instance either of the United States or of the individual in accordance with law. This word doesn't mean anything. It means fuck all. So you can remove it. It doesn't mean anything. So let's reread it again. A person, which is a individual or an organization, who, though not a citizen of the United States, meaning citizen means like officer or employee. So if we were to remove this and say officer or employee of the federal corporation, it might make more sense. So what if I reread this in a way where I remove all of the goofiness and I put the definitions for the words in here? So a individual or organization who, though not a officer or employee of the federal corporation, owes allegiance to the federal corporation. That would be the actual way that you would read this section B, right? Now you ask yourself, okay, so what is allegiance? I'm not sure I want to pledge allegiance to the federal corporation. So if you look in my website at the Amnesty Coalition page here, which is where all my documents are that I give away for free, and you scroll down to the explanatory statement that I have here for free, this explanatory statement that you attach to the DS11 form pretty much covers all of this information and clarifies all this information. Okay, now the way that I do it is you have here, right? Now, there's a couple other points to show you on this. So we have 22 USC 212 as well. Uh, uh, this one is called persons entitled to passport. No passport shall be granted or issued to or verified for any other persons than those owing allegiance, whether citizens or not, to the United States. And we also have another one here. I believe it is 22 CFR 51.2. Yeah, there we go. Nice. So passports are not issued to U.S. citizens. They are only issued to U.S. nationals. A U.S. national is the same term as national of the United States. The term national means a person owing permanent allegiance to a state. So a national of the United States is an individual or organization who pledges allegiance to the federal corporation. Now, if we go into the explanatory statement, what is allegiance? So I defer to the Black's Law second edition definition. By allegiance is meant the obligation of fidelity and obedience which the individual owes to the government under which he lives or to his sovereign in return for the protection he receives. It may be an absolute and permanent obligation, or it may be a qualified and temporary one. So what I do is I write a qualified and temporary allegiance statement. Okay. And you can see it here. It's all of this text. To be clear, I'm not an enemy of the incorporated entity that calls itself United States, but since I do not live in that area, nor do I have much in the way of actual contractual obligation with that area, my allegiance lies simply in the ideas that are found within the incorporated body that would match up with the definitions of nation and peace from the definition section in section 2. My allegiance is not infinite and unconditional. My allegiance is confined to be within the definitions of nation and peace. And if the federal corporation decides at any point to step outside of those definitions, then my allegiance would end at that point. By definition, if the federal corporation ever steps outside the definition of nation or peace, then by its own codes, it ceases to exist. My allegiance ends at that moment that the nation ceases to exist simply because my support cannot exist for a nation that does not physically exist. My true and unfettered allegiance lies in the ideas and spirit behind the idea of being a true American: freedom, common law, masculine and feminine duality, supreme force, technical performance, national pride, etc. My love and devotion to the heart and soul of our collection of independent, unincorporated states is unquestionable and barely conditional. My allegiance ultimately lies in the unincorporated state in which I domicile, but that I love, but that love does truly extend to all other unincorporated states found within our union that intend and factually produce tranquility inside and outside their nation and carry themselves as a unified body that operates with morals and decorum. And I go on and on and on. And the reason why is because if you look at the definition of a nation, the definition of nation and the definition of state mean the same thing. So if we go back to 8 USC 1101 subsection 821, the term national means a person owing permanent allegiance to a state. Person is an individual or organization, and permanent doesn't mean anything. So if we were to reread that, the term national means a individual or organization owing allegiance to a state. So what is the definition of the word state? The word state and the word nation mean the same thing. And this is the definition of nation or state: an independent body politic, a society of men united together for the purpose of promoting their mutual safety and advantage by the joint efforts of their combined strength. But every combination of men who govern themselves independently of all others will not be considered a nation. A body of pirates, for example, who govern themselves are not a nation. To constitute a nation, another ingredient is required. The body thus formed must respect other nations in general and each of their members in particular. Such a society has her affairs and her interests. She deliberates and takes resolutions in common, thus becoming a moral person who possesses an understanding and will peculiar to herself and is susceptible of obligations and rights. So it's not location. It's not a specific area. It's not a specific country. It has absolutely nothing to do with any of that. It has to do with a unified body of people, regardless of location or physicality, that operate together internally with tranquility, and then they have good diplomatic relations externally, and they spread peace and tranquility to others through a body that holds itself together with morals and decorum. And the way the morals and decorum part comes from, even in the United States Code, we have the definition of a foreign government. The term foreign government includes any government, faction, or body of insurgents within a country with which the United States is at peace, irrespective of recognition by the United States. So you already have your own nation, your family as a nation, your work as a nation, your friends are nations. This little group you guys have, or big group, or whatever it is a nation. These are all different nations. Now, how do you operate this nation as a separate nation? The key word is the word peace. The word peace, the definition of the word peace is almost exactly the same as the definition of the word nation. The definition of the word peace is the following: the tranquility enjoyed by a political society, internally by the good order which reigns among its members, and externally by the good understanding it has with all other nations. Applied to the internal regulations of a nation, peace imports. Imports means like shows or proves or infers, I believe. I have to look that up real quick. Let me just imports definition. Indicate or signify. So that's the definition there. Indicate or signify, right? Peace indicates or signifies, in a technical sense, not merely a state of repose and security as opposed to one of violence or warfare, but likewise a state of public order and decorum. So, as long as you're at peace, in terms of the United States Code, you are a foreign government. Now, you are not a foreign government if you have naturalized into the United States, which now locates you in the District of Columbia. Okay. So, naturalization is the secret to everything, right? Naturalization places you outside of the United States. And then through limited allegiance, you now pledge allegiance to the United States from being outside of the United States. That turns you into a national. Now, as a national of the United States, you can have your own state or nation by simply being at peace, which means operating your group as a moral body with good internal tranquility, external tranquility, and operating with morals and decorum. Now, in terms of taxes, taxes only apply to things that are naturalized into the District of Columbia. So let's say you have, so it's like having a monopoly board, and the only place on the entire monopoly board there actually is a taxes spot. Let me just see here. Monopoly board. Let's see. Images. Oh, whoops. Let's see here. Yeah. I think there's one that says taxes here. Let's see. Luxury tax. Here's luxury tax, right? And if we pull this up as big as we can get it, let's see here. Anyways, the only way that you pay taxes in Monopoly is by landing on the tax square. And it's exactly the same thing in real life. So one of these little squares is United States. Now, the only time you ever pay taxes is when you have conferred the nationality of United States on one of your persons. That's the only time you're going to pay tax. This whole board, there's only one tax spot. It's United States. Okay. So if you would only pay taxes on all of your persons, if all of your persons are located in the District of Columbia. And they're all located in the District of Columbia because you said they were. And by the way, if you go on to Dun and Bradstreet and you look for state of California, state of Texas, state of Utah, state of whatever, you're going to find that they are businesses, and those businesses are located in the District of Columbia. So, state of California is the same as saying United States. So, if you file for let's see here. No, it's going to be over here and here. California. Let's see here. It'll be right in here somewhere. Mm-hmm. Here it is. So, state of California is a business. Now, the government cannot create businesses that are located in foreign countries. California Republic is an unincorporated nation state. So they aren't able to locate their corporations in that state. So instead, they created a corporation called State of California. And what's happening is people are naturalizing into State of California by conferring the nationality of the state called State of California upon a person, which is an individual or an organization, after birth by any means whatsoever. Through voter registration, when you create your corporations, you create them through the state. And obviously, when you create them through the state, you are stating or conferring the fact that they exist in that state. And that is the naturalization. You are naturalizing all of these playing pieces. So what's happening is that you are giving birth to a company. Let's say you have a company called Great Bread Incorporated, and you incorporated it through state of California. If every single one of these little playing spots on the monopoly board were all, state of Utah, state of Texas, state of this, state of that, state of this, you would feel like you're free and you're able to go wherever you want. But all of these quote states are all subcorporations of United States. And all of these quote states are all located in the District of Columbia. So they would all be taxes, 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 taxes on every single square, right? But if you live in California Republic, or if you create your own nation, like I have, which is the nation of the Amnesty Coalition, then at that point in time, you would confer the nationality of the nation of the Amnesty Coalition upon a person. So all of my trusts and my ens legis and myself as a man, I have conferred the nationality of the nation of the Amnesty Coalition on all of my playing pieces. So all of my playing pieces are located in the nation of the Amnesty Coalition. Now, obviously, I have lawsuits that I have filed, right? So how do I operate in the courts with my lawsuits, right? So what I do is I will show you physically how that works. We'll pull up one of these case files, and we're going to go down to the jurisdiction section. So you can see here, I developed a very simple way that we handle this. So jurisdiction and venue, point number one, it's number two on the complaint, but it's point number one in jurisdiction and venue. Through the power of naturalization found in 8 USC, section 1101, subsection A23, human name Henrik Hochschild confers the nationality of the state called State of Texas on all caps name after birth by any means whatsoever. This satisfies the jurisdictional requirements of the court. Now, as far as I can tell, there's nothing stopping you or anyone else from conferring the nationality of as many states as you want, as often as you want. I don't really know exactly how all that works. You could actually be in multiple states all at the same time, and I don't really think anyone's even going to bother you about it. So you should be specific as to what states you're in and what states you are not in. And you can assume that you can be in multiple states at once. If they have a problem with it or they freak out about it, you can handle it at that point. But I'll have multiple court cases all rolling at the same time where there's different nationalities for the all caps name all at the same time. So I don't think it's going to be a problem. If it is, then I'll handle it at that time. And I'm going to say, well, as per naturalization, it never says anything about the fact that you can only confer one state or nationality of a state upon a person. What's stopping me from naturalizing three times? I confer the nationality of state of Texas on my ens legis after birth by any means whatsoever. I confer the nationality of state of Utah on my ens legis by any means whatsoever, and I confer the nationality of California upon my ens legis by any means whatsoever. There's three of them right there. What's stopping you from placing your little car or your little hat on three of these various monopoly board spots all at the same time and operating multiple pieces in multiple locations? I don't think there's anyone that's going to stop you, and maybe I'm missing something, but as far as I can tell right now, that's the way this game is played. You can have as many locations as you want for each individual piece, and you can have as many pieces as you want, and you can move them around whenever you want, and you can eliminate them being located in a particular piece whenever you want, and you can also eliminate any playing pieces at any point in time that you don't want on the board. So the way I look at it is you can have infinite playing pieces in infinite locations. And if you don't like it and you're starting to have troubles with a particular location for a particular playing piece, you can simply move that playing piece out of that location, or you can just get rid of the playing piece entirely because you've got 1,200 other ones on the board. So when you start to think of it like this, you start to realize that which one of your playing pieces are located in the District of Columbia? When the IRS is sending you bills, they're sending it to the all caps name, the ens legis. So you got to ask yourself, is that playing piece, the ens legis, located in your home? That's the first question, because my ens legis is not located in my home. My ens legis is located wherever I say it's located. It's not located in my home, right? So the thing is that the ens legis is basically located wherever you want it to be located, and the only way that you can have a tax liability is by being a taxpayer. Definition of taxpayer comes from 26 USC 7701, subsection A14. Definition of taxpayer. Oh, and by the way, if you go on to for a lot of you who have tried to tell your family about a lot of this stuff, if you go on to the frivolous tax positions IRS website, the truth about frivolous arguments, this is the one that your family always shows you because they get all scared and freaked out. Now, check this out. You type in the word taxpayer. Let's see here. Tax. Can't see the thingy. Taxpayer. Look at all these little orange lines on the right hand side. That's all the times that they use this term for everything. This is the secret term. Taxpayer, 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 taxpayers who rely on taxpayers do this, taxpayers do that, taxpayer, taxpayer, taxpayer. This is their secret term. And knowing the definition of the word taxpayer just destroys their entire, because this is the only term they use. And obviously they may switch things up now that it's becoming more common, but this is their secret term. They use this term for everything to scare people and to try to make people think that all of this craziness and goofiness that they put here is true. Like, for example, they'll say, oh, taxpayers believe that the United States is located in the District of Columbia, blah, 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 blah. Well, I actually don't have a problem with anything they say on this document and this page and all of these pages at all, actually. And the reason why is just because you have to understand the definition of the word taxpayer. The term taxpayer means any person which shall be construed to mean and include an individual, a trust, a state, partnership, association, company, or corporation, subject to any internal revenue tax. So the whole thing is circular. It's a trap. Taxpayer, 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 taxpayer. I'm not a taxpayer. I don't have a single piece on the board that would be classified as a taxpayer. And the reason why is because if you go to 26 CFR 1.871-1, which is my favorite spot to explain how this works, in my opinion, right? So classes of aliens. For the purposes of the income tax, which they can't even define this word income. Watch this. It's probably going to be like 800 pages of definitions. Yeah. They've never clearly defined what income means. And they use the word money, which does not include Federal Reserve notes. So it's actually a joke on top of a joke on top of a joke on top of a joke, but we'll just skip that for right now. For the purposes of the income tax, alien individuals are divided generally into two classes, namely resident aliens and non-resident aliens. Resident alien individuals are in general taxable the same as citizens of the United States. That is, a resident alien is taxable on income derived from all sources, including sources without the United States, right? Non-resident alien individuals, which would be a national of the United States or non-citizen national. Non-citizen national would be somebody who is a non-resident alien individual who has pledged allegiance to the United States. Non-resident alien individuals are taxable on certain income from sources within the United States and on the income described in blah, blah, blah from sources without the United States. This doesn't really go anywhere. Try to study this. It just is very strange. It just sort of like fizzles away into nothingness. There actually is no real sources without the United States at all. This is actually the part that's most important. Again, you're going to see naturalization here again, because naturalization is the secret to everything, right? So it says here, however, non-resident alien individuals may elect to be treated as U.S. residents for purposes of determining their income tax liability. What this means is you can voluntarily naturalize into the District of Columbia if you would like. And if you'll do so, we'll do you a favor and allow you that we'll call that the election for the purposes of determining your income tax liability. So when you fill out a W-9 tax form, which is what pretty much everybody fills out, section 2 says certification under penalties of perjury. I certify that I am a U.S. citizen or other U.S. person. And then next to the signature line, signature of U.S. person. U.S. person is defined as corporation, company, trust, association, partnership, individual that is located in the United States, which is a federal corporation that is inside of the territorial boundaries of the District of Columbia. When you sign a W-9 form, you are conferring the nationality of the state called United States upon a person, whatever the person is listed above, uh, after birth by any means whatsoever. So what's funny about a U.S. citizen, you were not a U.S. citizen until you said you were a U.S. citizen. That's actually what made you a U.S. citizen. Where you live and where you domicile physically has absolutely nothing to do with you being a U.S. citizen. A U.S. citizen is only and exclusively based off of you conferring the fact that you are a U.S. citizen or conferring the fact that one of your trusts, estate, partnerships, association, companies, or corporations, or the ens legis is in fact a United States citizen, United States person located in the United States or is somehow underneath the laws of the United States. Okay. Now, same thing for a passport. On the passport, you're conferring nationality of a state called United States upon the ens legis after birth by any means whatsoever. When you get a driver's license, you are conferring the nationality of state of California, and then it also asks you if you are a U.S. citizen. So there's actually two different parts of naturalization to a driver's license. There's naturalization into state of California, which is located in the District of Columbia, and then there's also naturalization into United States, which is located in the District of Columbia. So you actually naturalize twice. If we go to voter registration, California, and you'll see here that non-citizen national is not a choice on this matter. And the reason why is because you have to be located in the District of Columbia in order to vote. So you'll see here, I am one of the following: a U.S. citizen and resident of California. So what does that mean? That means a officer or employee located in the District of Columbia and also inside of a smaller subsection of that particular corporation called United States called California. They don't say state of California here, which you could actually sue them and win because they're supposed to say state of California. It should say a U.S. citizen and resident of state of California because California is not part of that corporation, right? And then you have all these, it always says U.S. citizen for each one, right? Because you have to, I mean, this one's kind of funny. Look at this one. A U.S. citizen have never resided in the U.S. How's that even possible? I don't know. So you have these various situations. You don't have a non-citizen national of the United States. You don't have a national of the United States. If you look at the I-9 form, so what do you need to get a passport? You need to pledge allegiance to the United States. That's it. That's all you have to do. You could be in France and pledge allegiance to the United States, and you'll get a passport. And if they don't give you one, you sue them in international court, and they'll give you one. Okay. Now, the I-9 form says check one of the following boxes. You've got a citizen of the United States, and then you have number 2, a non-citizen national of the United States, right? And then above here, you have um, these various questions, social security number, right? So the social security number is for the ens legis only. It has nothing to do with you as a natural person. So if you were going to type in your social here, then you would write your name in all capital letters, right? Because the social wouldn't have anything to do with you as a natural person. So it'd be like that. And for me, my name is copyrighted, my all caps name. So I would do registered copyright symbol. And I would copy this and I would paste it on here like so. So this is how I would fill this out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And this right here would be proper. Now I'm filling out an I-9 form for the ens legis. This is the particular playing piece that I'm filling this out for. Now, if I would like to confer nationality of the United States upon this particular playing piece after birth by any means whatsoever, I would click box 1. If I wanted to be a citizen for some reason for this particular playing piece, I could do that, right? Now, if I wanted to say this particular playing piece is located in the nation of the Amnesty Coalition or the California Republic or someplace outside of the incorporated states, I click box 2. And then if I click box 2, there would need to be some sort of full or qualified allegiance statement associated with how the playing piece or person, the ens legis Brandon J. Williams registered copyright, pledges allegiance to the corporation called United States after birth by any means whatsoever. And you could bring this person back and forth and back and forth and back and forth as much as you want, whenever you want, whatever suits you. If you want to get benefits from the government, you'd go here. If you don't want any taxation, you go here. But the thing is that if you're not receiving payments and if you're not getting checks in this name specifically and depositing those checks into a bank account attached to the social security number, you don't need to worry about all that. So you could open up a trust called Brandon Joe Williams or Brandon Joe Williams Trust. And whenever anybody writes you a check for Brandon Joe Williams, you put it in the trust account and not in the personal account, because the personal account is just a corporate account located in the District of Columbia. So at that point, you could operate this ens legis in the United States. You can get all the benefits associated with being a United States citizen, but this particular entity, this person, is not receiving any money or securities or anything. So at that point, even if you were to fill out, if you were to naturalize them into United States, then they still wouldn't have a tax liability, but they'd still be able to get all the benefits associated with disability or whatever. And then you could just go create a bunch of trusts, and then all the trusts would be a different persons, and all the trusts would be non-citizen nationals of the United States, and then you as a man or a woman would also be a non-citizen national of the United States. And that is essentially what I feel, and then if you look here, you don't need anything else. You don't need a social security number. You don't need a driver's license. You don't need anything. All you need is a U.S. passport or U.S. passport card. Now, you can open up bank accounts with the U.S. passport. You can work with a U.S. passport. You can travel in your cars with the U.S. passport. You can do anything with a passport. You don't need anything else. So you could be in France, and you could pledge allegiance to the United States, get yourself a passport, come over here, no visa, no green card, nothing, and you're good to go. You're a non-citizen national of the United States, and you can live your whole life however you want. You could even open up, rather than going and getting a social security number, you could literally just go to create a corporation in state of California, and you could actually go and you could file to open up a corporation, and you would literally name that corporation your name in all capital letters. You don't need a social security number. And you could actually use that social security. You could actually use the EIN number that you're going to get here, and you could actually use that as the social security number. So you would open up a corporation called Brandon Joe Williams in all capital letters in state of California. You'd go out and you get an EIN number for that corporation, and then you would use that EIN number as the social security number. And now you have two persons. You have the corporate person, and you have the man or the woman person, right? Or a little bit more complicated there, but you kind of get the idea, right? And that's all you need. You don't need anything else. You can see here, you don't need driver's license, you don't need school ID, you don't need voter registration card, you don't need military ID, Native American tribal documents, U.S. citizen ID card, social security number or account. You don't need any of these things. Nothing. And yeah, and the thing is that the ens legis is a corporation that was created by the state for political purposes and to act as the agency administration of civil government, right? So if you operate the public corporation properly and you take control of it, it gives you limited liability in commerce. Corporations give you limited liability in commerce. So, like if someone got molested in a Starbucks, the chief financial officer isn't going to prison for that because he has limited liability because it's a commercial activity. It's a corporation. So this interface or this portal called the public corporation gives you it acts as an agency in the administration of civil government. So when people call it a straw man, they're saying that that particular corporation exists only to transfer um, property. It's sort of like when I read the definition of straw man, I think of like legalized theft, basically, right? Because if you look, you have Cornell, a third party that holds property in intermission for the sole purpose of transferring it to another. Now, you could almost go so far as to say an escrow account would be a straw man. Escrow would be a straw man, right? So let's say like escrow. What's the definition of an escrow? What is the definition of escrow? Contractual arrangement in which a third party receives and disperses money or property for the primary transacting parties, right? With the disbursement dependent on conditions agreed to by the so they hold and release property based off of landmarks and contracts. Pretty much what a straw man is to some degree. A third party that holds property in intermission for the sole purpose of transferring it to another. So a straw man and an escrow is actually probably more similar than a straw man and an ens legis, in my opinion. So I don't use that term. I think it's a very ignorant term. I think it's a term that proves right away that if someone is using that term, they have absolutely no idea what they're talking about. Um, Everyone uses it, so I assume nobody has a clue what they're talking about. Because if they did, they wouldn't be using that term unless they're referring to an escrow. Uh, Maybe at some point in time I'll find some better terms to use. But for right now, I feel like public corporation and ens legis are very good. I like them very much. I feel like they do a good job of showing the fact that it's not intrinsically something evil. It's not intrinsically something bad. And it just all that just comes down to how you use it and how you handle it. If you put a bunch of playing pieces on your Monopoly board and you don't know what you're doing and you're moving them around and you're confused and you're getting annihilated and you don't know and you're getting mad, then it's not a very effective use of your pieces on the playing board. But if you're putting them down and you're applying naturalization, you're moving them around and taking control of them and rapidly controlling those playing pieces, then I don't think you're going to have much of an issue. It's not going to be that bad, right? And so and so this is the entire subject of what you would call status correction. But that status correction is more of like a fluidity. It's more of like a martial art because you can expand or contract all of the persons that you have on the board and you can move them around or eliminate locations or add locations at will using the power of naturalization. Now, why anyone would ever be filing a taxes or a tax return based off of this is just you would have to not know any of this information at all in order to be in that kind of condition. Uh, I don't know why you'd even be. I mean, the only reason why I communicate with the IRS at all is to get EIN numbers for private trusts because you can't open up bank accounts without EIN numbers. So besides that, I don't even know why you'd be really talking with the IRS too much. So the I mean you can do whatever you want. It's a voluntary system, right? But let's see here. There was something else I wanted to show you. Oh. So a lot of people have heard of this revocation of election, right? And that's also nobody has a clue what that is either, right? So a revocation of election is just a novation. What is a novation? No, no. Let me see here. Let's do this. Novation. No, okay, let's do Let's see. Let's do this one. Nope. Okay. What is novation? The substitution of a new contract in place of an old one. Or it's sort of like when you use it Facebook and it says we're going to if you continue to use Facebook after this point, then you agree to the new terms and conditions. That activity is called a novation. Or when you get a little booklet and it says we have new terms and conditions, and by continuing to use our credit card, you agree to the new terms and conditions. That's called a novation. Now you can send them a novation. You can send anyone a novation anytime you want, the same way they can send you a novation anytime they want. You could send them a novation, and it's a little pamphlet, and it says, if you continue to process my payments, you agree to the new contract. Same way they do it to you. The thing about all of this stuff that we're learning is anything you need to be careful. You actually need to watch, because anything any corporation or trust or government agency has ever done to you, you can do all of the same stuff to any government organization or corporation. Everything. You can write tickets, you can write subpoenas, you could have your own little court, and you could summons people to it. And if they don't, you could hire private security to go out and give them warrants, and you could do all the same stuff that the government and the corporations do to you and send you bills and then all of a sudden sue you because you aren't paying your bills. You can do all the same stuff that they do to you right back to them. And then you do it through innovation, right? So what is a revocation of election? Revocation of election is a novation. At some point in the past, you naturalized into the District of Columbia, which was a big fucking mistake. Now, you need to clean up that contract because you fucked up. You naturalized into the District of Columbia. You didn't realize it. So revocation of election is the revocation of the election from 26 CFR CFR 1.871-1. You are revoking, which means getting rid of or tearing out the election that you made right here. Non-resident alien individuals may elect to be treated as U.S. residents for the purposes of determining their income tax liability. So you elected through naturalization, and now you're going to fix that by giving a new declaration of naturalization, and you're going to be revoking that election. It's a novation. And for anybody who's out there that tells you shouldn't do this, they are batshit insane. And the reason why I say that, you should stay very far away from these people because they do not understand what is going on. And the reason why is this. You gave the IRS information. You contracted with the IRS and you naturalized via the IRS. You mean to tell me that you're not going to go back and fix that contract that you fucked up and did all that with? That's very, I'd go so far as to almost call that problematic or dangerous. If you sent in a previous contract and you naturalized into the District of Columbia and you are not located in the District of Columbia, you got to realize that original document that you sent in, that W-9 form, it was signed under penalty of perjury. W-9 form. Section 2. I certify under penalties of perjury that I am a U.S. citizen or other U.S. person. You naturalized under penalty of perjury that you live in the District of Columbia. What is the jail time for perjury? Up to 4 years for California in prison. So do you want to go to prison for up to 4 years because you previously gave the IRS information that is false? No, you do not. Now, the thing is, in order for it to be perjury, it has to be willful, meaning you have to have known that it was a lie or known that it was incorrect, right? Now, you didn't realize that United States is located in the District of Columbia. So at that time, when you signed that W-9 form, you didn't commit perjury. But if you don't go back now and file your novations and file your corrections for these improper contracts, which this one it specifically would be a revocation of election, let's say 8 years from now, and you're yelling and screaming at the top of your lungs that you're a national of the United States, but you have this thing sitting here that's never been corrected, which states that you live in the District of Columbia. So you're lying one way or the other. Which one is it? You're going to prison either way. So I always say that when you start to walk down these paths and you start to do all this correction and you start to naturalize and correct your naturalization and put together how many playing pieces you want on the board, you really should within maybe a year or so be able to get through all of the contracts, your passport, your driver's license, all your voter registration, all your licenses for everything, all of your tax stuff. You should set a little clock for yourself and you should say, okay, once I start this, I should finish all of this within maybe a year, year and a half, something like that. That's like my own personal opinion as to kind of how this should go down. You should not take 10 years to go through these, at least the basic documents such as taxation and passports. You should be working to correct these fairly rapidly. That way you're not stuck in between all these things forever. Uh, 2 years is probably like okay. Anything above 2 years, I'd say, is not great in my opinion. So I have a free document here, which is the revocation of election document, right? It's very, very simple. We have some opening statements. First off, I'd like to clarify that I am entirely at peace with the IRS, the Internal Revenue Service, US GOVT, and any other DBA filings or corporate entities associated with or related to Internal Revenue. For most of my life, I have not understood taxation and the basic identities of nationality, location, etc. Because of this, I have taken time to truly dive deep and to understand how all this works in great detail. I have no animosity, desire for revenge, or any other feelings associated with my relationship with Internal Revenue. And I now feel like I can properly perform on all ens legis public corporation accounts because they're not interested in you as a man or a woman. They are only interested in the ens legis public corporation. So you wouldn't say ens legis public corporation and man woman accounts. They don't have any man woman accounts. They don't want man woman accounts, and they can't even really have anything to do with accounts for men or women. They can only have accounts for ens legises or public corporations, which they assume are always taxpayers, which is why all the letters say "Dear Taxpayer." If you correct that and tell them that you are not a taxpayer, then you can probably get that citation changed, which you're going to see later in this document, right? Nationality clarification. 8 USC 1101 subsection A23 states the term naturalization means the conferring of nationality of a state upon a person after birth by any means whatsoever. Through the tremendous power of naturalization, I hereby confer the nationality of the state of the nation of the Amnesty Coalition on my ens legis, Brandon Joe Williams. In all caps. The tax treaty between the Amnesty Coalition and the United States is very simple. There will be no taxes removed or paid under any circumstances. This line clarifies any aspect of any W-8BEN that may be submitted by myself or any other ambassador of the Amnesty Coalition. There are no citizens of the Amnesty Coalition, only ambassadors. I attest that my ens legis has been previously born after the Department of Health and Human Service processed my certificate of live birth. I have also been born as the agent on behalf of Brandon Joe Williams as a non-incorporated living man. I was born on January 28th, 1986, and the ens legis was born on February 14th, 1986. So this date here is the date on your long form birth certificate where it says date processed by local health officer. That is the date that your ens legis was born. Okay. So the ens legis has a birthday. All your persons, all your playing pieces have birthdays. It's whenever you filed the documents, whenever they were processed. Okay. Or if it's a trust that you open for yourself, by yourself, without the government at all, it would be the date in which that trust was notarized and actually physically brought into existence would be the birthday of that trust, that person. Okay. Myself, as the non-incorporated living agent of the ens legis, speaks on behalf of the ens legis. If a durable power of attorney is also requested between myself as the natural person and ens legis, I'd be more than happy to provide that. Please simply request that and I can get it to you. In fact, one or more points of 8 USC 1408, which we can talk about for a moment, 1408 So this is black and white, nationals but not citizens of the United States at birth. And these are the various conditions that where a person is a national but not a citizen at birth, right? So one or more of these apply to anyone that was born outside of the District of Columbia. Okay. So in fact, one or more points of 8 USC 1408 apply to my life, and technically myself as the agent to the Ensley. This has always been a national but not citizen since my birth. If I have previously conferred the nationality of the state called United States on myself or my ens legis, I would like to be abundantly clear that I had absolutely no idea what I was signing or conferring or attesting to, and I deeply apologize for making such an ignorant mistake. Both myself and my ens legis are and have always been both foreign nationals, non-resident aliens, as per 8 USC 1101 subsection A21. Important note, this revocation of election applies all the way back to the original supposed election. I may or may not file corrections on previous tax years in order to have the previous election years refunded, as I was not actually a U.S. citizen or resident alien during any of those years, and neither was the ens legis. The next section is an endorsement clarification. It has to do with bills of exchange and promissory notes, which we're not going to get into because it's going to take me a while to explain all that. And then closing statements. After receipt of this revocation of election, neither myself nor the ens legis will be considered taxpayers any longer as per the definition from 26 USC 7701 subsection A14. If at any time in the future I make any income specifically from the United States, I will be sure to handle that situation as necessary at that time. Until that occurs, please do not write to me or my ens legis using the word taxpayer, as that would be quite improper. Please use the term foreign friend for all salutations. I would also like to be clear that the ens legis is never residing at the same address of which I domicile at. If you are explicitly looking to contact the ens legis on some kind of financial matter, you may want to contact the U.S. Treasury first to handle any financial imbalances in accordance with 18 USC 8. 18 USC 8 states that basically everything is an obligation or other security of the United States, meaning it's actually all your bills, everything that you think you're supposed to pay is actually all obligations of the U.S. Treasury, and it's actually Janet Yellen and all her cronies. It's actually their responsibility. Anything that has to do with the ens legis. All right. So if they want something to do with the ens legis, then they can contact the U.S. Treasury to try to figure all that out. Thank you for all the assistance in the future that I may need with EIN numbers or anything else. I look forward to a long and prosperous relationship for the both of us, and I intend on behaving in a way that accompanies my new salutation of foreign friend. Thanks again, and then you just sign it and you notarize it, right? Now this now places you as a non-resident alien. Now what is a non-resident alien? Non-resident alien are taxable only on certain income from sources within the District of Columbia. So from that point forward, you wouldn't be a taxpayer because you are not subject to any internal revenue tax. Your person, ens legis, is not a taxpayer because it is not subject to any internal revenue tax. Now, at some point in the future, if you have income, which is not defined at all, so who knows what that even means? As far as I'm concerned, it doesn't even really exist. So it's kind of a joke in itself, but we'll say it just for the sake of saying it. If you have income from sources within the District of Columbia, then at that point you would have a tax liability and you would fill out what's called a 1040 NR. 1040 NR is a non-resident alien income tax return. And it looks like this. And this would only be for the income you're making from the District of Columbia. But there is no definition for income. So I don't know why you would fill this out. Because money is defined as gold and silver coins. US dollars are defined as negotiable instruments. Federal Reserve notes are promissory notes. So so what is income? Income is the possessing of securities. It's like, doesn't even make sense. It's like impossible. There's no way that they could ever prove income. The only way they can prove income is by assuming you think you know what income means and then walking in and giving jurisdiction to a tax court. Income does not have a definition. It doesn't make any sense. There is no money. There's only negotiable instruments, right? So, uh, UCC Article 3, we'll get into this just for a short period because this is important for taxation, right? So what is a negotiable instrument, right? Negotiable instrument means an unconditional promise or order to pay a fixed amount of money with or without interest or other charges, right? So if you go to the Bill of Exchange Act, you'll see here it says bill means bill of exchange and note means promissory note. Well, what's in your pocket? What are you paying tax on? You're paying tax on Federal Reserve notes. What is a Federal Reserve note? The word note means promissory note. What is a promissory note? Promissory note is a negotiable instrument. And if you go back to the Uniform Commercial Code, Article 3, they are very clear about this. They say that this article applies to negotiable instruments. It does not apply to money. Money and negotiable instruments are two entirely different subjects. So it's a bunch of promissory notes, promises to pay. That's what you are possessing or collecting. Those promissory notes don't have any intrinsic value in law. So there is no such thing as profit, because if you have one promissory note or a billion promissory notes, it makes no difference in terms of your net worth. The only way you can increase your net worth is by having gold and silver coins. Now, the thing is that the gold and silver coins are not part of any jurisdiction that any of these people or the IRS have any jurisdiction over. So even if you were getting paid in gold and silver coins, it wouldn't have anything to do with income or the IRS anyways, because they only reference to US dollars or negotiable instruments or Federal Reserve notes. So the whole thing, even beyond status correction and location and identity, the whole thing is a fucking joke. I mean, it's literally just a joke on top of a joke on top of a joke on top of a joke. I mean, it's the easiest thing in the world to ruin and destroy. I mean, you should for sure do a revocation of election. You should clarify any previous communications. You should make sure you go back, because you got to think all government agencies, all corporations only operate off of the information that you give them. If you have given them false, improper information before, I feel that you do have a responsibility, and it is much more safe and much more sane and much more correct and much more proper and much more mature to go back and write the novations and clarifications and corrections that need to occur in order to clarify and correct that of which is the information that you gave them voluntarily. You also don't realize you never need to give the IRS one solitary shred of information ever. You never needed to fill out even one of their forms. There is absolutely nothing anywhere compelling anyone to file anything. The problem is that once you filed it, you now contracted, you gave them information voluntarily. They will accept any information you give them voluntarily. So if you voluntarily become a U.S. Resident for the purpose of determining your income tax liability, you can also voluntarily revoke that election to be treated as a U.S. resident for the purpose of determining your income tax liability, right? Now, this whole election, revocation of election thing, it only applies to the ens legis, because they can't, it's called internal revenue because the word internal means internal to the United States, which is located in the District of Columbia. So the Internal Revenue Service is only having to do with things that are created or function internally. The ens legis is created or functions internally. The man or woman has nothing to do with the internal functionality of the United States. So the revocation of election would apply to anything that has been born out of the District of Columbia, including the birth certificate, the ens legis, any corporations you have, LLCs, S corps, C corps. There's different types of trusts. There's a business trust, which is actually would be a U.S. person. And then there's a private irrevocable trust, which would be a national or I mean, a national would have to pledge allegiance to the United States. So you could have a private irrevocable trust that's located in nation of the Amnesty Coalition. And if you never issue a absolute or limited pledge of allegiance on behalf of that private irrevocable trust, that private irrevocable trust would not be a national of the United States. In order for that person to be a national of the United States, you would have to write up and submit a statement of naturalization and a statement of allegiance for that particular person. So if you had a private irrevocable trust and it had never been naturalized and it had never become a national of the United States, then it would just be a foreign trust and it wouldn't have any relationship with the United States. So I think that's pretty much a good overview of how all this works in a nutshell. Um, I hope that was a good kind of A to Z kind of breakdown on all of this. I have a lot of free documents, a lot of free information on my website. Um, we do the special passports, we do all the good stuff, and so I guess from here, what we'll do is I don't know where everyone's at on all this, so I guess from here, BJ or whoever, maybe I could just answer some questions, or I think at this point would be a good point to sort of like start to figure out like where you guys are at in terms of what I'm doing here.
Yeah, thank you. That was amazing. You
Yeah,
touched on right now because that's what I'm studying, securities and the promissory notes and everything. So that was very interesting, and I got a nugget out of it. But I'm looking in the chat, and I do see several questions for you. I'm
sure.
gonna go to the top.
Let me just get a drink real quick because I'm a little bit
Yeah, you
parched
went.
after all
Yeah.
that. So give me just 1 second.
Okay, guys. I'm gonna read the questions out of the chat while he gets a drink when he comes back. But also, uh, feel free to raise your hand if you didn't put a question in. And then we can get to the hand raising once I go through the chat.
Okay, I'm back.
Alrighty. The first question, what? Oh, okay. Arizona. She wants to know, what were you currently working on?
Currently working on litigation to force um, banking institutions and mortgages and all sorts of other good things to accept negotiable instruments, and then we're converting the original endorsements on the negotiable instruments from blank endorsements to special endorsements via litigation. If you go to williams&williamslawfirm.com and you go to current and previous litigation, you can see here I have the case one, case two, case three, and then case four is going to be up in a few days. And then I'm working on five, six, and seven, and then we've got probably 30 or 40 in the making. And then you can actually download the original civil cover sheet, um, summons and complaint for all three, and then it has the case number. And case number one, there's a lot of action, a lot really exciting, a lot of good things are happening. A lot of bar cards are pretty pissed off at me, which is hilarious. We're having a lot of fun. So if you'd like to see kind of like the just the beginning part, you can download that for free here. If you'd like to see in more detail all the filings and everything going on in the court case, you're going to have to create a Pacer account. Pacer is free to open an account, but it costs like 10 cents a page to download all the various things. You would just go to search for a case. You would take the case number. For example, case one is the only one I have that has like a lot of action going on in it. You would just take this case number and you would plug it into Pacer and it'll come up and it'll have all the different documents and motions and all the good stuff going on with the case right now. So I have one case where we are claiming a bunch of documents in a deal as negotiable instruments, which is a really kind of a weird case. It was kind of a desperate case and it was time sensitive and it was just kind of like my first case, so it's a bit goofy, but we're moving along. It's about a $20 million case. The second case is negotiable instruments and peonage in association with a mortgage. This is $100 million case. Oh, I'm sorry. This one's a $50 million case. And then case three is a business loan case where the entire business was placed as collateral on the loan. So this one is a slavery and peonage case. This one is for $100 million.
Amazing. Wow.
Yeah.
And I do see a few questions in the chat about foreclosures and fraudulent foreclosures and evictions. So
Fraudulent foreclosures, depending on where you're at, case two, if you look through case two, you can actually see a lot of information about how that works. This particular client of mine is not in a foreclosure, but probably was heading in that direction. Uh, it's not that he couldn't pay. It's just that we shouldn't be paying these mortgages. It's ridiculous. So this is actually, in my own personal opinion, the problem with mortgages and foreclosures and debt discharge is that everyone in the space is trying to. So if you ask anybody and you go into the Telegram groups and all this kind of stuff, they say the definition of the term remedy is that the mortgage is discharged and the foreclosure is removed. I disagree very thoroughly. I think the definition of the term remedy is that all mortgages are discharged, all liens and security interests are gone. Every single Federal Reserve note ever paid on the account since the account's inception is refunded, and then an additional 10, 20, 40, 50, $80 million is paid out as damages on top of all of that. That's my definition of remedy. So I've gotten, probably 100 free cars. We've never done houses before, but free cars, we've done 100 of those. And I've done, millions and millions of dollars of credit card debt, right? But I used to think that was a remedy. I don't consider that a remedy anymore. If you aren't walking away with full discharge plus $10 million plus, it's not remedy, in my opinion. So you can look through this entire court case and you can see the way that I've structured all of this, and you can see all of the various points, and you can see all the various terminology, and you can go down and you can read this all the way down, and you can see all this, and you can see my special endorsements here. And you can go down, 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 and you can see the various counts. We have breach of fiduciary duties. We have civil money penalty. We have laundering of monetary instruments. We have transportation of stolen securities, securities and commodities fraud, and peonage, which is 25 years in prison, actually. We have enticement into slavery, which is 20 to 25 years in prison. We have sale into involuntary servitude, which is 20 to 25 years in prison. Forced labor, 20 to 25 years in prison. Benefiting from peonage, slavery, and trafficking in persons, which is 20 to 25 years in prison. We haven't figured out exactly how to tie the DOJ into all this in order to get like actual prison time for these people. For right now, we're just going after this full discharge of all the above loans in their current state, full release of interest and liens on the property, full refund of each individual extraneous payment made on the account using Federal Reserve notes, 50 million in damages payable in Federal Reserve notes, or they have an optional choice here, which is to convert the HELOC into a revolving credit line through a limited power of attorney, allowing the defendant to have the account automatically discharged and have the credit limit of the entire value of the property. Plaintiff will allow the defendant to have the interest generated on these securities. This optional choice would make paragraph 136 unnecessary. So they would be able to save themselves $50 million by simply giving my client essentially infinite money.
either way, it sounds like a win-win. Wow, that's amazing. So that
Yeah.
is beneficial for people who are stuck in the foreclosure to give them some insight of what they can do in their particular cases with some in-depth research on what you have already laid the platform for.
Yeah, if you're in a foreclosure or you want to do something with any sort of like debt or mortgage or foreclosure or eviction or anything like that, I would go just straight to litigation and I would go straight on the offensive and I would not accept them discharging the debt as remedy. That's ridiculous. They've been dicking around, they've been screwing around, they've been making tremendous amounts of money on these things, recollateralizing them over and over again. They've been wasting your time. There's no way. I mean, if they think they're going to get off the hook by just discharging this mortgage, they are sadly mistaken. There's no way.
Okay, I see another question here about family court. The best, okay, seeking best remedy to disconnect from their authority.
I heard a guy one time tell me that he just wrote into like a child support kind of a thing and just said, I don't. This whole child support situation does not benefit me, and that's it. It's over. And by literally doing that, I heard one guy just eliminated his child support by just literally just saying that this doesn't benefit me. Thus, I can't possibly be the beneficiary. Um, and it closed the case. But I don't know if that's true. I don't know if it's that. I don't know. I actually don't know a lot about that kind of stuff, to be honest with you. I focus mainly on securities and negotiable instruments, to be honest with you.
Okay. Okay, then there's another member who he wants to know uh are your videos all still up to date and current what that you have out there? He says, has he changed his process at all and all the videos still up to date?
Some of the things are a little bit different, but they're pretty much all the same. I mean, it's we're using some different things, but you can still use all the same stuff. I've never seen anyone access much of anything using the 1099A, so I kind of abandoned that process. But I put notes all through the course videos to like be very clear about that. I changed out a lot of the titles and stuff like that, and then in the course videos, I recommend the explanatory statement by James C. Levitt, which is the one that I use personally. You can still use that one, but I now have mine that I give away for free. So if you want mine, you can take that one for free, which I have notes on the videos now, updating that just in the title and in the description of the videos. And then rather than using the Form 56, you can just use the revocation of election document that I just showed you guys. You can use that. It's probably a better choice, in my opinion, than the Form 56, but you can still use a Form 56. And I put all the videos are the same because I'm not going to go reshoot all that right now, but there are a lot of like notes and updates and text and stuff like that within the videos. And then I will be shooting an update video. I'll probably place the update video after video number 11, and it'll be like a full video breakdown of like all the changes and all the upgrades and stuff like that. But in terms of like, do a lot any of that stuff not work anymore or something like that? No, no, it's all still fine. It's just we have better things now we can use.
Oh, okay. How does W-9 U.S. citizen designation apply and affect uh to a federal employee?
A federal employee is a citizen, but you have to ask yourself: is it on paper? Is it the end legis, or is it the natural person? So you can, I don't know. I mean, I would say if you fill out all the documents as the ens legis, then as far as they're concerned, it's the ens legis that's working for them. You know what I mean? I mean, it's. I don't really totally know the answer to the question, to be honest with you. I haven't gone down that rabbit hole too much. Just keep in mind that if anyone works at the IRS is not a government agency. So working at the IRS would not be included in any sort of governmental or federal agency.
Ah, okay. Yep, that is true. Um, here's one. Can we use this revocation? Oh, yeah. Oh, okay. Can we use this revocation of election if we work for the municipality government outside of DC?
I would say yes, because it's based off of where your residence or domicile.
A question here, does he still have access to Sestakay Trust? Does he still use the SSN? I think you answered.
I don't care about this the Cesta KV Trust. I've never seen anyone really access it very successfully. The only thing I ever did one time was I typed in the routing number for the U.S. Treasury, and then we started using. I think it's either 000 and the Social Security number or 000 and the Social Security number. And if you have like certain lenders for cars, the cars will discharge. The way it works is the discharge will go through, and then about 5 business days later, it'll reverse, but they'll send you a clean title and they'll release the lien, especially like Capital One was one of the ones that we had the most success with that. Um, but then what happens is they're going to start coming after you for the car and they're going to start threatening you and wanting to repo the car and that kind of thing. So what we did is we just had all the people that I know that were in that situation. They just went and sold the car to like CarMax or Carvana, and that was it. We didn't have any more issues. But it's it's just that that's the closest I ever got to actually accessing the Cesta KV, and it was just so hit or miss. And like, it's one of those things where even if it does still work, which it might still work, they're going to close those holes. This is not going down the negotiable instrument angle and going down the bill of exchange and promissory note angle is not something that they can close. It's not like a fringe hole that you're like finding and like laughing and like climbing through. This is like negotiable instruments and promissory notes and bills of exchange is like the Grand Canyon. It's like the whole functionality and skeletal structure of the entire planet. So that structure isn't going to go anywhere. So the Cesta KV thing, I've never heard of anyone. I sent in probably $14 million and probably 7 or 8 different parcels to the treasury to try to get all that going. It was one of the first things I ever did a couple of years ago. I know hundreds of people who have tried. I know hundreds of people who have tried to use the 1099A in various ways, and I've never seen anyone be successful with it. And I myself was not successful with it, and I put those notes on my course videos. So I don't really care about that anymore because the thing is that when you learn how money is made or how negotiable instruments are made, and you learn about how endorsements work, the Cesta KV doesn't really matter anymore because now you become a bank and you start to actually manufacture currency and funds out of thin air. And you can manufacture as much funds or currency as you want. And all you have to do is you just have to simply litigate to get them to force them to follow the law, which is what I'm doing on all my court cases. And you will win, guaranteed. I mean, I'm not worried about losing any of these cases at all. And I haven't won any cases yet, but when I do, it's gonna be a big deal because I mean, the whole I know I'm not gonna I mean, I'm going to have probably 10 of these things rolling. I'm not going to lose all of them. Will I lose one or two here and there? Maybe, but I'll go to appeals court. Like, I don't care. Do I think that with these cases, possibly losing locally and then going to appeals, do I think I'll lose both here and appeals on oh, no, I think through appeals maximum, I think I will be winning all the cases I file, every single one.
Well, you got my vote. I believe you too. You will. Um,
Thank you.
mhm. Wild Horse, open your mic and ask. You have several questions. Wild Horse, open your mic and you can ask your questions directly.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Liam or
Yeah.
Charlie?
Yeah. Hello.
Hi. Hi, Brandon.
Hello.
So I just had a couple of questions. Have you used Innovation with creditors yet? And did they close the accounts? Or did they keep them open?
They're always going to mess around and play dumb and close the accounts. The people who get these things don't understand. They're not playing. They're actually not playing dumb. They actually are dumb. That's a big difference that people don't get. I say it's very simple. You send in your orders, they close your accounts, and then you just litigate. It's just boom, boom, boom. That's how I'm doing it. I'm actually going out and filing all sorts of credit applications and everything. And I tell them over the phone, please send me a letter of rejection. I need that. And I'm just trying to collect as many rejection letters and as many closed accounts as I possibly can. Because once I nail this down, we start winning some cases, I'm going to be going after all of them.
Cool. Another question I had, and is, can another one of your persons notarize your docs?
No, because a natural I mean, no. That's
Oh,
a natural person. The notary is going to the purpose of a notary is two things: to check identity and then witness signature. Their job is not to read or view or do have anything to do with your documents. Their only purpose, and if you have a notary that does anything outside of this purpose, you should remove them from your life as quickly as possible because they have no clue what they're doing. A notary is supposed to say, I have a person in front of me. I need to verify this person is who they say they are. They do that through some sort of driver's license, passport card, or some other, personal way of them for identify themselves to the notary. Then once the identity has been confirmed, they physically watch the person sign the document. So the whole point is, did this person who says they're this person really sign these docs or not? That's all a notary is.
yeah. I know that was kind of a newbie question, but it just occurred to me when you said earlier that you get something notarized. And the last question is, what's the fastest way to allocate credits? Have you allocated credits without doing the whole IRS thing? Or
What does that mean? What does allocate
to
credits mean?
move, well, it kind of went in line with the whole Seshwike trust, but you kind of cleared that up earlier. And I'm just trying to think of, it goes along with the negotiable instruments. And somehow, a lot of people use different forms with the IRS to have credits brought back to them. Do you mess around with any of that?
No, the only time I've ever heard anybody getting any money off any of that and it working at all is that when you file a revocation of election, when they send you back the first letter that says, "Hey, we received your whatever, and we need 30 or 60 days to process or to figure out what it is you sent in," the fake confusion letter that they send you. They also send you a sheet and it has multiple payment vouchers on it. And it's a very, very strange sheet that some people may throw out. Joe Lustica, a buddy of mine, said that you can actually photocopy that sheet, cut them off, and use them as checks. And he's actually seen it work.
You're talking about the CP575 or 147C?
I don't know. I'm gonna have to look on my see if I have it on here.
Because a lot of us got those
Hold on one second.
actually.
Okay, Antoinette, when he comes back, you're gonna be next, okay? Your hands up, Antoinette, you'll be next when he finishes that question.
Yeah, it's an IRS voucher sheet. It does not have any codes on the upper right at all. It says cut out and return the voucher immediately below. If you only have an inquiry, do not use if you are making a payment. And then it has two of them and they have barcodes on them. They have my social on them and they have the account number of something, a routing number. And it has a little scissors. I'm not going to show it because it has a lot of my personal information, but that's what the sheet looks like.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, Antoinette, you have your hand
Oh,
raised?
thank you. Hi, Brandon and everyone else. Good
Hello.
morning. Hi. Um, in just glancing at case number 2, I saw that you guys are the plaintiff,
Yeah.
and your cause of action is being held in debt servitude due to fraud.
Yeah.
What's going to be your strategy to prove that? Because you have the burden of proof, right? What's and my second question is, how do we um, connect with you on Telegram, if possible? Those are my 2 questions.
I don't really use Telegram and I'm not really available for personal contact. I pretty much just go on shows and stuff like that. So if you have a show you want to invite me on, I'd be willing to do that, but I don't really do any personal contact. I spend way too much time on the litigation stuff. I can't get stuck inside of too much personal contact. I do post a lot. I do a lot of shows. So if you're a part of my email list, I'm doing shows all the time, releasing shows all the time. That's the contact question. And then the proving the 18 USC 1581 as the cause of action. That's all included in the complaint. But to answer your question in a nutshell, is, my client was essentially, through a lack of understanding the terms of the contract, he was essentially tricked into doing a blank endorsement on a promissory note when it should have been a special endorsement. And through fraud, we are replacing that original blank endorsement with a special endorsement. And that special endorsement is detailed inside the complaint.
Okay, thank you so much. And I am subscribed so to your channel. So that's fine. Thank you. Have a good night.
You too. Bye-bye.
Letha, are you still with us? Letha, you have your hand up.
Hi, Brandon. Thanks for coming.
Hello.
Last week, I got a summons for the foreclosure, and I have 20 days to respond to their complaints. Do you recommend I check out your, what was it, the number 2
Yeah.
lawsuit on the mortgage? Okay.
I would answer and then do a counter complaint and start going after them for a lot of money.
See, in 22, I paid off the mortgage with a negotiable instrument, and then 6 days later, they returned it. I even got a letter congratulating me for paying it off. So I've got all that proof that they accepted it and discharged it, but then they reversed it on me. So that's kind of what I'm trying to prove now, that they're responsible for that.
Yeah, they should be, my client did the same thing. They should be paying the full value of the original note. They should be paying the full value of the second note that you sent them, the one to pay off note. And they should also be refunding every single Federal Reserve note that was ever paid on the account since the account's inception. And then they should also be paying an additional $10 to $50 million in damages.
Amen. Thank you. I've
Yeah.
listened to your Infinite Money like 20 times to get it absorbed, and it's awesome. I appreciate it. Thank you.
There's 2 shows that I've done recently on litigation. I'm kind of like newly talking a lot about this. The first one is the Andy Kaufman one that I have on my YouTube channel. It's one of the most recent ones I did. It's with Andy Kaufman. That one is really good for litigation. And then the other one is I do a show every month with Brandon Thomas on the show Expanding Reality. The last show that we just did was it's called Flurry of Motions, which is a term for when you file a complaint and then before they answer the complaint, they try to dismiss or strike the complaint as much as they can. It's called a flurry of motions. That podcast is a podcast where I break down, I think it's case number 1 in great detail. And I explain how answers work and how counterclaims work a little bit. And I kind of go into the procedural aspects of all of this in more detail on that show. So Expanding Reality with Brandon Thomas and Dr. Andy Kaufman on my channel would be the 2 shows I would watch for that.
Okay. I know I've seen Andy Kaufman, but thank you. I'll watch them.
Yep.
All right, so I have another question here. Would you keep, I'm sorry. Oh, would you keep the in legis in the jurisdiction and take control over the original security, in parentheses, the certificate of live birth?
Yeah, you can. I mean, I trademarked my all caps name, so that's pretty much all I did. I did a name change on it too, but I'm not sure how much that really matters. I think that the trademark is really all I need. I mean, if you have a registered trademark over that name, then that name cannot be placed on any document without your approval.
Okay, yeah, they're asking about your website. We posted in the chat. The website is onestupidfuck.com, people. And I feel weird saying it, I do. And yes, that revocation, he said, is on his site.
Yeah, all my own personal documents that I give away for free are all on the Nation of the Amnesty Coalition page on my website.
Okay, so do you have any regrets about anything related to discovering this information? And would you go back and do anything differently?
No and no.
Yeah, okay. Is your schedule backed up to help people in April? Uh, Civil case.
So if you want to know how my litigation works, you need to read the on Williams and WilliamsLawFirm.com. There's a section called How Litigation Works. It's the full breakdown of all the different aspects of how our litigation is working. I have a lot of personal cases that I am preparing. And then I also have cases that I'm preparing for my clients. So, it is what it is, but there is a very, very large down payment required at the very beginning of litigation that can range anywhere from, $50,000 to $250,000. And then we are willing to discharge that amount, but we're very, very, very picky in terms of who we take on, because the thing is that when you're doing pro se litigation as a attorney, in fact, we don't represent you in the court. You're actually pro se and we're just counsel.
Mm. Yeah, I've seen that before.
So we're not looking, we will not take, if we don't see that you are absolutely on fucking fire, we're not even going to come anywhere near your case. Meaning if you are not tearing through books and doing everything and borderline, if you're not figuring out what's going on and you're not going to be a great litigant and you're not organized and focused and on fire and driven, we can't work with you. It's just not going to work. And you have to have a massive down payment. So uh a lot of people are not expecting all of that to be part of the equation. That is part of the equation. So, and then also we pretty much only deal with securities negotiable instruments cases. We're not really going outside of that right now. So,
Hmm.
yeah.
Okay, so what can be done with a property that was foreclosed on and all of the docs have the wrong address?
All foreclosures are all the same. There's an original note, and you just need to claim that note under fraud and then get that note exchanged and transferred. And then you can use all the same counts and all the same stuff from my lawsuits because they're always going to apply in the same way mostly. I mean, it's pretty much the same thing every time.
Which one of your videos explain the negotiable instrument and how to use it?
I have several. If you go onto my YouTube channel and just type in the words infinite money, you'll see all the different ones that will come up. Those are all the ones that have to do with that subject.
I'm going down. Says use the vouchers as checks. Oh, they're telling you and send to IRS or where? Oh, it's a question. Okay. I don't know what that is. There's someone about an EIN number. They wanted to know, they have an EIN number, a domestic EIN number on their trust. How can they change that to, how or should they change it to a foreign EIN number?
If you just fill out the SS4 again, one of the boxes on there is I have a bunch of them right here. One of the boxes is, has the applicant entity shown on line 1 ever applied for and received an EIN? Yes or no? If yes, write previous EIN here. So you can actually just do another SS4 as many times as you want for any entity.
Okay. If you send in an overpayment to the credit card company, will they send the overpayment back to you or apply it to the credit balance?
If you're referring specifically to non-Federal Reserve note negotiable instruments, no, they're going to play dumb or they're going to be dumb or whatever, and they need to litigate to get it done.
Thank you.
Every once in a great while, even on my videos and even in my groups, you will see people that are getting negotiable instruments applied to their account. They are flukes. They are extremely rare. It is not the usual. And if you want it done for sure, and you don't want to have Las Vegas level chances of winning, then you're going to need to litigate.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm talking with a closed mic. Where do you send those vouchers made out like a check? I made quite a few copies of mine, but not sure where to send it.
I don't know. You might just send it literally to whoever you're trying to pay. You might just send it literally as a check. I don't know.
Okay, question for Brandon, asking if you have ever been able to claim the value of a case filed above the judgment.
I'm not sure what that means.
Main Pottery, open your mic and ask your question, please.
Hey, thanks, Brandon, for answering my question. I guess maybe I don't know how to exactly ask the question. However, when you're in court and you've been asked, you're in equity, and the judge has you up there at the bench, approach the bench, um, and they ask if there's anything else that you would like to ask for. Now, I've been in that situation, but not really knowing. And then after the fact, have people say, oh, you should have asked for the full value of the case or whatever to be returned. And that I'm assuming would be a turn to your person, to your vessel. I'm just not sure how to even ask that question, but I was wondering if you ever had that happen. I yield.
I don't know. I would just be focusing. I don't know. I don't know what kind of case it is. I don't know anything about it. So I have no idea. I stick to securities and negotiable instruments and finances because every single financial transaction ever, whether it be a lease that you signed for an apartment, whether it be a mortgage that you signed for a house, whether it be a mortgage that you signed for a commercial property, whether it be a negotiable instrument that you signed for a car, a negotiable instrument that you signed for a business loan, negotiable instrument, it's all financial transactions you can immediately countersue or sue, and you can sue for 50 to 150 million dollars, and you're going to win like every single time. So I don't go outside of that arena really at all because I don't see the reason to. I'm becoming essentially a specialist in plaintiff suing financial organization for, like I said, the definition of the word remedy now is no longer discharge. That's for children. Remedy is now full discharge plus full all security interest release plus all liens released plus a full refund of every single Federal Reserve note ever paid on the account since the account's inception, plus an additional $10 to $150 million in damages, period. And then once we go to the next level above that, we're going to start putting people in prison. That's going to be my next definition of remedy, is that I'm literally physically putting people in jail cells.
The true enemies of the state.
Yeah. So we're not there yet. That's the next level. We're actually trying to figure that out as we speak. We're trying to figure out how to actually rope the DOJ into these lawsuits and force an indictment. We don't know how to do this yet. So I would say maybe by the end of the year, we'll have that figured out. I don't know.
Okay. Willie, you have your hand up. You can open your mic and ask your question.
Yes. Greetings. everyone, and to my namesake, I'm Williams as well.
Nice.
Brandon.
Oh, hello.
I've been following you. I did your course too, and I thank you for all that you have been doing to help liberate humanity. You know, as a person who believes in the scriptures, it says in Revelation 14, 6 to 12, that Babylon is fallen, that great city. All of this is coming from the Vatican, that great city, because this nation has corrupted the entire world using all these fraudulent systems, especially pushed by our biggest enemies are the ones that Jesus cursed out, which are the lawyers. Because these days they are the ones who are buying the debt. I had a situation in my car recently, and I just stopped paying, and the bank basically just closed. And when you call them to find out about the car that they have on record, they have no record of it. Yet still you have the lawyers coming at you. What I do, let me ask your opinion. Is it better to litigate or just shut them down? Because there are methods that we can do that just shut down the lawyers and let them just go find something else, find easier pickings. That's one of my questions. Go ahead.
No, you should always, like I said, remedy is defined as full discharge, full everything, all the good stuff, and then on top of that, all the wasted time, all the headache, all the anxiety, all of it. It's all damages. So it's like you're getting bullied, and then you are getting bullied for years and years and years, and then at the end it's like, oh, if you just stop bullying me, you can get off, for free. No, that's not how it's going to work anymore. It's going to be where now you're getting your ass handed to you. You're going to get beat real good. It's not a revenge thing either. It's a if the guy is doing it to you, he's doing it to the next guy. If you don't turn around and punch him in the throat and watch him choke on the ground for a good, 2 or 3 minutes, and they see their life flash before their eyes, how are you ever going to know they're not going to just laugh and turn around and do it to 10 other people?
All right, good. I like that answer. So I have a series of questions. Tell me when I'm doing too much, you can stop me, host. Why are you using their court system when you know that the lawyers, the judges, the bankers, the police, everybody is one big happy family, and so we are now going up against them? Why don't we find an alternative to their court system? Because sometimes we get screwed over in their system. They railroad us.
From my experiences, I have a very easy time operating in the courts. I think that lawyers are scum of the earth, but I think that judges are actually pretty good. County clerks as well, pretty good. I have no issues with the clerks or the judges. And going back and forth with the lawyers is absolutely hilarious. They are beyond stupid. They are like crippled children with Down syndrome. It's actually the most pathetic industry I've ever had the displeasure of working with. All my experiences with the attorneys have been literally just threats. All they do is just threaten sanctions. They threaten this. They threaten that. I was on a meet and confer call in the state of Minnesota in the federal district court there. They have a particular local rule where whenever you're going to file a motion, which means some kind of thing that's occurring in the court or some kind of like big undertaking that's going to happen in the court case, you have to do what's called a meet and confer. So I did a meet and confer with these two lawyers. And one of the lawyers said, Mr. Williams, we're going to be filing unauthorized practice of law complaints. Do you realize it's a misdemeanor? I go, boy, I am so excited about this. I said, hey, when you fill that out and you file that in, can you send me a copy to my email? Because I'd love to share it with my audience. I've got like 35,000 people on my email list. We would love to have a good laugh about that. She goes, you're not taking this seriously, Bob. I'm like, look, I'm going to ask you again. Are you going to send me a copy of the report when you file it? Yes or no? And she said, yes. I said, excellent. That's the end of the discussion. Let's move on to the next point. Right. And then afterward, I
Yeah.
sent her an email and I said, dear Miss whatever, had an absolutely wonderful time speaking with you today. If you could please be sure to send me that report that you're going to be filing on me as soon as possible. I'm very excited about publishing it and having a good laugh with all of my friends. Sincerely, lawyer Brandon Joe Williams. And I've heard nothing. So we actually also the lawyers in this particular first case have refused to speak to me. So we actually put an order into the court to force them to speak with me. These lawyers are literally going berserk. It's hilarious. Case one, if you look up the case in Pacer, you can see what I'm talking about. I'm having way too much fun. Anyways, I do not think that if you come to the courts are there to get the law applied. And if you think that something like negotiable instruments, which is the entire backbone system of the entire banking cartel, if you think that they will allow any courts in any area to do something that would jeopardize the UCC3 system, UCC3 and UCC9 system that they have in place, you are living in a completely delusionary fairyland that Alice herself from Alice in Wonderland would be jealous of. So as long as you understand UCC3 and you're trying to get UCC3 applied correctly and you're not on some emotional tirade about the situation, but you're actually very composed and calm, you will get the court to do exactly what you want them to do because they would never dare step on these people's feet.
And I know why you say you're having a fun day at the lawyers because they themselves were never licensed. That's one of the things that I use against them. I'm always saying, please show me your license to practice law, like I'm in Canada, and they never can reply because they're never licensed. Anyway, I'll move on to my next question. Now, do you use syntax, and are you acquainted with? I'm sure you must be acquainted with David Windmill. Do you use his method
No,
to
I don't.
syntax your
No, I don't.
contracts?
Because
No.
nobody else understands it. So when you write it that way, you're going into the court, you're asking the court for help as the plaintiff, right?
Mm.
So if you go into the court, if you go into an American court and you're speaking Mandarin Chinese and they say, I don't understand this, can you please speak in something I can understand? And you freak out and say no, you just look like a psychopath.
Okay. All right. My next question is alternatives now. One of the biggest problems I see with with what we face is that even though we have the revocation and taking ourselves completely out of the system, but then if someone wants a job, if someone you have children, they have to go to school, they participate in different activities, etc., etc. You know that the passport to go across the border to go travel. Well, I like it in the States. I know you have your DS11 stuff and all of that. But in terms of alternatives, what would you say to people who are trying to get out of the system, but at the same time you need a social security number, you need a driver's license. Well, you don't need, but to avoid harassment, and your gun permit and all of that. What would you propose as the best alternatives?
I got rid of all that stuff. So, and the social security number only has to do with the ends legis, has nothing to do with you at all whatsoever. So if they're asking for a social security number, I believe it's 18 USC 408, maybe. Let's see here. 18 USC 408, maybe, or maybe it's let's see here. I forget where it's located, but there's actually a particular part in the statutes that says that it's a felony to force
Yeah,
anyone to.
I'm acquainted with it. Yeah,
So I use
but
that one a
this.
lot. Oh, 42 USC 408 is the section on that. It's a felony for anyone to compel the disclosure of the social security number of any person. But I don't really go down that road. I just tell them I don't have one. Very simple.
But then you won't get the job.
No, that would be an immediate lawsuit because the I-9 form says very, very clearly, if you read the I-9, that the only thing that you need to do is you have to prove identity and employment authorization. There's a little chart on that second page, and it says lists of acceptable documents to prove those two things. Employees must present one selection from List A or a combination of one selection from List B and one from List C. Point number 1 of List A, it says documents that establish both identity and employment authorization. Number 1, U.S. passport or U.S. passport card. With a passport, you don't need literally anything else. You don't need anything except a passport to open up bank accounts. You don't need anything but a passport to get employment. You don't need anything but a passport to travel. You literally don't need anything in this country at all except a passport.
But isn't the passport their system too?
It's yeah, but it's only issued to U.S. nationals. So you're not stating that you're living in the United States. You're stating a limited allegiance declaration being a U.S. national.
And you're talking people like in North America too, outside of the U.S. proper?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right. My final thing is, I heard someone talking about the getting a notary to notarize your documents, and I've been saying to people, your thumb is your greatest seal. That's the one that God gave you, and when you use that and sign your signature as a living, there's no need for a notary. I used to spend a lot of money on notaries. I stopped and just use my thumb and my living man signature. Thank you very much, sir, for taking my question. I yield the floor.
Thanks.
Okay, Mona, you have your hand up.
Hi, good evening. Hi, Brandon. How are you?
Hello.
Hi, everyone listening. I wanted to circle back to the question pertaining to the foreclosure with the wrong address. That was my question. That actually happened to me. I had a property many years ago that was foreclosed upon, but all of the documents had the wrong address. Does that matter at all? Is it still done what you said, like the same way where you're
Yeah,
claiming
I could have the
amount?
wrong name, wrong address, wrong this, wrong that. If there was, if the loan was open, there was a promissory note. If there was a promissory note, it was signed. If it was signed, it was signed with a blank endorsement. That's it right there. Doesn't matter.
Okay, okay. I just wanted to be sure that it didn't matter with the wrong address. Thank you for answering my
Yep.
question. Thank you.
Mhm.
Tap, can you open your mic? And then after tap, I see winter beneficiary. And those were the last two questions I see. Tap, are you able to come to the mic?
Oh, okay. I just see the button. I didn't know how to unmute, but okay, I figured it out. I just had some questions in the chat. Let's see what I asked about. Oh, I've over the years I've asked for a few different payoff statements for my mortgage, but the third one is the one where I finally sent in a negotiable interest instrument and they ignored it. They sent me a letter saying that they received something, but they don't recognize it. They didn't send the negotiable instrument back, but I'm just wondering, all of those payoff statements that I got, I think I should be able to recoup the value of that because they generate a statement. I mean, don't you think? And what process would I use is it litigation to,
If you want
especially
anything in any financial area, whether it be credit card debt, whether it be mortgages, whether it be car loans, doesn't matter what it is. You have to go down litigation. You can get a discharge on a car or an unsecured credit line without litigation. It's going to be sloppy. It's going to be hit or miss. It's going to be unpatterned. And there's like almost nothing that will determine whether or not it will be successful or not beyond just sheer luck
Mhm.
And even if it is successful, it may go for a year or two, and then they may just come out of the woodworks out of nowhere for no
Mhm.
reason and start rushing you and looking for blood. You are never going to have clear, solid closure on any of these things unless you litigate.
Okay.
And if it's something like a house or it's like a secured loan, oh God, you won't even get to the 2-yard line without litigation.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Oh, and I
Okay.
don't know if you're reviewing the chat at all, but you mentioned what would the next level be as far as, these guys taking them to court or having the courts maybe arrest or do whatever with these guys. But Trump had an executive order where he's got a team of military people, that where you contact the JAG and you can get them involved and give them all the proof of these offenders, and that could be an option for you.
Yeah,
So-
I'm gonna, when you're in a court case, you can actually add parties and you can actually add infractions and you can actually add felonies to that case anytime you want. You just motion the court to add a party or motion the court to add a claim or motion the court to add a charge. So the thing is that you can have a court case. Now, when you file you'll see this in the expanding realities show. The first document, which is called a complaint, is just allegations. You don't actually need to provide any real evidence of anything. You're just alleging. The definition of the word allege means setting forth that of which you intend to prove. So the problem that a lot of people have when they say, oh, the judges don't care, no one cares, is they send in 487 pieces of paper with their complaint, and their complaint is 487 pages long. None of that is required. My complaint, I think, is 9 pages, and 3.5 of those pages is just it's just very simple. So it's really only like 4 or 5 pages of real actual different material. And what happens is if you say plaintiff and defendant entered into a contract over real property, and when they answer the complaint, they say affirmed or that is correct, you now don't need to prove that particular point in your complaint, because them affirming the fact that that particular thing took place is now the evidence needed to create. So you write the allegations, you get the answer where they say affirmed, denied, or I don't know on each of the individual points. Now from there, you only have to prove what's left. And you prove what's left in discovery. So once they answer, you motion the court into discovery, and now you can subpoena people and get documents and get accounts, and you can kind of go crazy. I call it being issued a badge, a gun, and a shovel by the court. So once you get issued your badge or gun and your shovel, you can start digging and doing all sorts of craziness. And then at that point is when you have to now prove your allegations, right? So if you're not sure about certain things and you think there are criminal elements, you can start digging in civil. And then as you start digging up more and more dirt, which, boy, you're going to find a lot of dirt. It's really easy to find. You can start adding parties and adding criminal complaints, and you can just become this gigantic wood chipper that just eats and destroys everything in its path.
You're good, Tap?
Yes, I'm good. Yep.
Okay. Winter beneficiary. Winter beneficiary, can you open your mic? All right, some more questions in the chat. Brandon, it says, have you done a UCC1 on your cases?
No, I'm not gonna. No, because the thing is I'm not going to write I'm trying to play the game their way. I want judges to love me. I want to spend a lot of money in the court system. I want to create a lot of jobs for a lot of bullshit lawyers. I want to be the guy they love to see. the guy that creates all sorts of controversy, the guy who's coming in there bashing people's skulls in and everything else, but all within their terminology, all within their whatever. So I'm not gonna file a financing statement until after there's been a default judgment or something like that. Now, once I get a default judgment, oh yeah, I'll be filing a UCC for sure. UCC one.
Okay, I have two questions that are similar. One says, what is the correct way to autograph documents? And the other one is endorse promissory notes not to be liable for the debt.
Uh, the short answer is without recourse. The longer answer is there's a lot of ways you can endorse documents. You should have a fluid understanding of endorsements before you get into this too much. Otherwise, you will lose. If you don't know all the ins and outs of endorsements and how they all work, and you can't endorse a document without having to think, what is the correct way to endorse this? Because there is never any correct way. There is always many, many different options as to how you can endorse. There's a qualified endorsement, there's a full endorsement, there's a restrictive endorsement, there's a special endorsement. There's like two other ones that I don't even understand myself. So the thing is that when you have a fluid understanding of all the different types of endorsements, you're going to endorse that document the way that you want to endorse it every single time, specifically and custom for you for that document and that relationship. That is the answer to the question.
Gratitude. Yeah, that's a lot of people struggle with that. So that's giving them a lot of latitude and a course of study.
Yeah, endorsements are the most important thing about all negotiable instruments, and it's really, really simple. It's really not that complex.
Yeah, I've kind of stick to three persons and three different signatures for those three persons.
Yeah, if you want to understand negotiable instruments and endorsements really, really well, you should read all of UCC Article 3. It's a lot. It's actually not a lot. It's just dense. Okay. And you can just do it in little sections. Read a little bit and you're like, oh my God, I'm gonna lay on train tracks. So just chill, come back in a couple days, read a little bit more on UCC3. I spent probably 2 months, just a little bit here and there, 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 and I was able to get through UCC in its entirety. Once you finish reading UCC3 in its entirety, you can just steamroll over these people, these lawyers, like they're just, I mean, like like, you know, 13-year-olds with sickle cell anemia. I mean, it's just an absolute joke. It's like going on I can't even think of. It's just so it's like going to a knife fight with a machine gun or something. I don't even know what to, and the other guy's knife broke and it's plastic or something. It's just so ridiculous. By the time you get through UCC3, they get 21 days to respond to complaints and stuff like that. They don't even have a hope to try to figure this stuff out in 21 days. I mean, you finish UCC3 and it's all over. I mean, I'm not kidding.
Okay, I was calling Winter to the mic. He says that everyone in the chat are rock stars because you've addressed all his questions.
Great.
And is there anyone else who has a question? You can open your mic. I don't have any more here, and I don't see any hands. Brendan, I think you've been amazing, and you've tapped into and touched on every concern that the members here have had, and I'm elated and grateful for sure.
Oh yeah, thanks guys. Yeah, I appreciate the invite, and I hope you guys enjoyed this. And I have a lot of material. If you go on YouTube or Spotify or Apple Podcasts or anything, if you type in my name, there's going to be 60, 70, 80 shows that are going to come up on all sorts of different platforms. I was on Tinfoil Hat. I've got some really, really big ones scheduled right now for the end of March. And I'm just working my way up to Joe Rogan. Probably going to happen this year, probably later this year. I want to get on Joe Rogan. So that's that's what's happening. And then I have tons and tons of information on my website. I have a free course called the Contract Killer Course. And what I'm working on currently is the Pro Se Litigant course, which is going to be an entire course on how to do all of this pro se litigation. We're going to go through mindset. We're going to go through negotiable instruments. We're going to go through the complaint, the procedure, discovery, forcing people with subpoenas, forcing people to produce documents, everything. It's going to be another course I'm going to be doing, and that course is going to be free, most likely. So that course isn't going to happen anytime soon. I'm going to want to win a case or two for sure before I'll be comfortable teaching an entire course about something, because the whole point is you have to win. So I hope to win a couple cases this year, and then by the end of this year, I think I'll have that course ready to go.
Well, me for one, I'll definitely be looking forward to that. Hey guys, go to his website. I mean, he has poured his heart, mind, and spirit into that website. And go to his YouTubes. When you watch YouTubes and you really appreciate the content, at least give the likes, put the thumbs up on it, and put a comment in there to support, because that's vital out there when you're doing this type of work on this journey for all of us. We should always give a thumbs up and leave a decent comment showing our support. Brandon, would you like to tell them anything else in closing? Because the questions have slowed down. I see a multitude of thanks and gratitude to you, because we are all immensely grateful for you taking out your time and sharing and pouring into us.
Yeah, thank you. No, the biggest thing is just, sharing the information. I try to create the most shareable information that I can, meaning I do have 3 videos. If you look on my YouTube channel, if you look on my Instagram, it's the 3 pinned videos. So it's really easy to find them. If you look on my TikTok, it's also the 3 pinned videos. So it's very, very easy to find them. On my YouTube, it's the top 8 most recent videos. 3 of them are located there. You have how to have infinite money in less than 10 minutes. You have how to legally operate any car, motorcycle, etc., without smog plates, registration, or license. And then you have how to legally never pay taxes again in 10 minutes. These 3 10-minute videos are like super, super shareable for anybody that may be skeptical of the information, or anyone who may be interested in the information and you want to send them something that's like wildly, insanely short, but also wildly, insanely impacting. Those are the 3 videos that I would use for trying to introduce someone new to this information. Sharing the information is by far the best thing you can do, because the more we share the information and the more we put the heat on these organizations and banks, the faster we're going to get to a situation where they're not going to not know what to do with these instruments. They are going to know what to do with these instruments, and they are going to be accepting them as payment on these accounts.
Well,
Brandon,
thank
thank you so much. I don't know if my mic is still staticky. I left and came back in. I can't thank you enough for coming on the show today. And when people are looking on your YouTube, are they going to be searching Brandon Joe Williams? Are they searching One Stupid Fuck? What are they looking for? Just so we have them down the right path.
Yeah, so my actual channel is One Stupid Fuck, but you can type in Brandon Joe Williams and you'll find everything. You'll find all my stuff. You'll find tons of other people's stuff, other shows. You'll find all sorts of things. So either way, but my actual official personal channel, of which you can get to via my website, at the top of my website, I have all the links to all the social medias on a desktop. If you're on a mobile device, you have to click the 2 little lines to the top of the page, and then there's a drop down bar, and then at the bottom of the drop down bar is all the links to socials. But on desktop, on a computer, it's boom right at the top of the screen at the website. All my socials, my Facebook, my Instagram, my YouTube, and my X or Twitter account is all there for you just click on it. So it's all there. It's you'll find me one way or the other.
I just had one last quick thing before you go, Brandon. What are you relying on in terms of your court cases? Are you using jurisdictionary or any other books, Gibson's? Like what are you actually using to or what do you recommend for the people?
Yeah, I've been studying jurisdictionary for months. I took it very slow because it's a lot, in my opinion. Jurisdictionary is where I learned a lot of what I've learned, and then I connected with a guy named Joey Kimbrough. He works with me at Williams and Williams Law Firm. You can see his profile on the About page on williamsandwilliamslawfirm.com. And he had his own platform called Pro Say Joe. And he started watching my stuff, and then we connected. And he's already won a bunch of Pro Se cases. And he's actually been in the courts for years. He is the yin to my yang, and without him, I wouldn't be able to do any of this.
Okay, great. Yeah, it sounded like I recognized it. That's why I asked. Thank you so much.
Yeah, if it wasn't for Joey Kimbrough, even with the jurisdictionary, I wouldn't be doing the litigation. There's absolutely no way in hell. I'm probably going to be working with Dr. Andy Kaufman on cases as well in the future. He's very brilliant. I chose to work with Joey because I met Joey way before I met Andy Kaufman. And then Andy's like me. He's kind of new on the scene of litigation. Joey's old hat. He's been doing this for years. He's won a bunch of cases. He's done a bunch of weird things that ended up being rocky, and he knows how the bar cards operate, and he's got it all figured out in terms of the procedure and how to get through the actual case to a win. So I'm like the guy that structures the complaints, and I'm the guy who's like the overarching lawyer, and then he's like my right hand man. Like without him, there's no way I'd be doing any of this. Absolutely no way.
Thank you again.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, guys. Well, I'll head off, and I hope it's been helpful. Are you going to keep this recording or publish this recording anywhere? Or are you?
Nope,
can
we're
put-
gonna send it, to you and let you do what you will.
Oh, great! I'll put it on my my YouTube channel. Everybody will love this, so that'll be great. I'll share it on my YouTube, and then we'll get some good. If you could send me you guys's contact info or anything you'd like me to put in the description section of the video, I'd appreciate that. Okay, because I'll put it in there.
Fantastic, thank you.
Okay, guys. Thank you.
Thank
Have a
you.
great day.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Bye bye.
Good night.